Hi. Today I am going to talk about closing the door and only opening it at times that you decide you want to open it. So what I'm talking about is the door to your psychic ability. When I got my first Reiki attunement, right after that, that's when my psychic ability really blossomed and became a lot more intense than it had previously been. So right after I got my first attunement, I went home and meditated, and I had a vision. I'm not joking. It was like in Charmed, where Phoebe suddenly has a vision. It was like that. But that took place in my home, in my sacred space. It was a positive vision of my own life, and it was fine. I was grateful to have had that experience. But there were other times soon after that where I was, for example, on public transit, and I started to sense the energies of all of the other passengers on the train, and it was fairly full. And I had to take public transit every day to work at that time. So I started sensing the guy in front of me, and then the two people sitting behind me, and then the person on my left, and then it just began to snowball, and all of these different energies and information from all these passengers was bombarding me all at once. And there was no way for me to interpret it because it was just, overwhelming, just like 20 people yelling at things at you at the same time. And then I was like, while that was happening, I was telling myself, okay, just calm down, it's fine, you can handle this. And I was mostly keeping it under control. But then this woman brushed by me. She bumped into my hand as she passed through the aisle. And the feeling of her energy was just so slimy and dark and just awful. And I knew in my core that that woman has done terrible, unthinkable things. And that was such an open hole I could have crawled in there and known everything about her, it seemed like. But of course I did not want to go in there. I did not want the details on that. No, thank you. So after she bumped into me, I couldn't handle it anymore, and I just got off the train. I was not at my stop. I just stood there on the First Street platform, trying to process what just happened. And that wasn't the only time, but that's the clearest one in my memory. So after that, level up in my psychic ability, basically, I had to figure out how to close the door. So now I only access that power. Usually the only time I ever use it is when I'm using the cards, or I'm using tea leaves, or I'm reading someone's palm. And part of the way that I go about opening that door is when I set out my reading cloth and holding those cards and shuffling them. Those are the things that I do to start reopening the door. So there's lots of ways, lots of different videos, and people will tell you this is how to open your third eye and access your kundalini and all these different things. So those are great ways, great things to do. Closing the door is harder, or at least it was harder for me to learn how to do. And really it just comes from practice. If any of you have seen the movie The Village of the Damned, it's about these alien children that come and invade your brain. And one guy at the end, the hero basically, creates a brick wall in his mind. And he's using his willpower to maintain this brick wall and keep out these aliens. So it's kind of like that, and the trick where it kind of gets you, I found, is it's interesting. It's interesting to be able to know what someone is thinking or what kind of person they are just by being near them. But as I mentioned just a moment ago, that can be really overwhelming if you don't have control over it. So I'm in my mid-20s, and right now I'm just at the point where I open the door when I'm doing readings, and I close the door all the rest of the time. Someday, hopefully, I'll just be able to open and close it, you know, whenever I like, whoever's around. But there's, you know, a little bit of fear there still, where I don't want to know everything about everyone. It's just too much. So my point, the reason I'm making this video really, is if any of you who've been watching my other videos and you probably have some psychic aptitude already, and as you begin to delve into the cards and practice, that will probably grow. So if you have trouble with it, with processing that information or with learning how to close the door, just message me. I'm not kidding. Message me. I will help you, because when I went through that, I didn't have anyone to help me. I just had to figure it out on my own. So, yeah. Just tell yourself, no thank you, not right now. And then shift your mind to something else, basically. Okay, well, I wish everybody a really merry January. Go outside and just stand there in the snow, in the quiet, especially at night. There was such a gorgeous crescent moon last night, and I was walking my dog and just enjoying the utter silence of this season. I also will point out that I made an error when I made my last video about the priestess. I said that next time we'd be talking about the emperor, but that's wrong. We're actually going to be talking about the empress, because she's number 3. So my mistake. But I will be uploading that video right away here. Merry meet, merry part, merry meet again.